Hello and thank you for joining us on the Thursday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Binga Oreshegun. Today on the program, FCT Minister Nyesom Wike yet to lodge formal complaints with Defense Ministry after confrontation with Naval officer on disputed Abuja land, as Matawale describes confrontation as unnecessary. Federal government holds proposed 15% import duty on petrol and diesel. And later on the show, Governor Okwebolo, Mac's first year in office, says Edo's foundations rebuilt recommits to fulfilling electoral promises. Well, I'll be hanging out with Adewale Adeoye and Babajide Kolade Utitoju BKO, who joins us via Zoom. Journalist Hangout starts right now. Now let's begin the conversation. Reactions over the confrontation between the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory FCT, Nyesom Wike, and a naval officer, Lieutenant A. Yerima, over an alleged land dispute are still pouring in. This time, the Minister of State for Defense, Bello Matawale, described the confrontation as unnecessary and avoidable. Matawale said Wike had earlier contacted the Chief of Defense Staff and the Chief of Naval Staff, who advised him to allow the military to investigate the matter before taking any action. The minister disclosed that while the Ministry of Defense is yet to receive a formal complaint from the FCT minister over the incident, he personally reached out to the FCT minister after the video went viral. Okay, let's start from the studio. Adewale Ade, the FCT minister is yet to lodge a formal complaint with the Defense Ministry over its altercation with the said naval officer. But talk to her, how necessary is this?
Well, you know, when any issue comes up in Nigeria, there are only very few people that are objective. Comments have been colored with emotion, with politics, and those who are on both sides, a large number of people are not speaking objectively. There are some people that preconceived prejudice against the army, preconceived prejudice against Wike. Oh, some people felt, oh, he has been, he left this, he's working to sabotage the PDP. He's not even, bulldozing our properties in Abuja. So all sort of sentiments, But if we are to look at this issue objectively, in the first instance, there are two authorities, that were having, dispute. We have the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, and then we have, a military officer. I think, to me, the minister or the FCC minister has some level of authority. He was there on behalf of the president of Nigeria. He's like the governor of Abuja.
Yes.
So he's there constitutionally. And I think as the minister of FCT, he has the right to demand access to any property in that place. And it's been there, under Section 301, the president can delegate him to carry out certain functions on his behalf.
Okay.
In the case of the other military officer, Yerima, is there on behalf of an individual that has retired from the Nigerian Navy, who in actual fact has no command as we speak. He has no right to give instructions to this officer because he's no longer in service. And of course, he was protecting a private property. And I don't think that is part of his oath of allegiance, to protect private property. As a soldier, your responsibility is to protect the sovereignty of the country. And you see, there are a lot of things that are wrong in Nigeria. You have left the service as a former naval staff. In the US, Pauline Cowell served for 35 years.
Yes.
After he retired at the age of, he died at the age of 84. After 35 years, there was no military given to him to be protecting him. Under the US, code, when you retired, you can hire private guard to protect you. And if there are specific threats, then the Secret Service will come in. The same thing in in Britain, the same thing in South Africa. And in fact, just July this year, Ghana, came out with what they call special order, that there will be no more military protection for retired soldiers.
Oh, okay.
So there are all sorts of things that we do in this country that are wrong. No. You have about 6 soldiers, protecting private property of a retired officer. If you have about 1,000 retired officers, times it about an average of 4 soldiers, that's about 4,000 soldiers that are supposed to be on duty protecting the sovereignty of the state, but providing private individuals that are no longer in service.
Okay. So let's bring BKO here. I mean, BKO, amidst the reaction about who was right and also who was wrong, does the FCT minister's decision not to file a formal complaint, suggest that a deliberate attempt to de-escalate the situation, or does it raise concerns about accountability here?
Hello.
BK, are you with me?
Okay. What's your question again?
Okay, I said I missed the reaction about who was right, who was wrong. The FCT's minister not to. Do you think that the FCT's minister decision not to file a formal complaint, suggests a deliberate attempt to de-escalate the situation, or does it raise concerns about accountability?
I don't think it raises any concern about accountability. This is a very straightforward case. Just as Adewale said, there are very few objective Nigerians at this time. Many people just look at issues based on sentiment. And a lot of the comments that we have seen, you see that the hatred for Wike actually colored the opinion of most people. Most people do not look at issues dispassionately. They are not prepared to even look at the bigger picture. At a time when we accuse the military of showing extreme disrespect for civilians, they actually call civilians bloody civilians and all that, and they flog civilians in public. We have seen even the military punish some of their men for the way that they treated civilians. The one thing is certain in our country: the Constitution is superior to any order, any directive by the military or whoever. You must respect the Constitution. I hear people say, oh, the guy would rather obey the order of his bosses. So if a general tells you to go and take a life, somebody who had not committed an offense, you will stupidly go and take that life and say that in the military we just obey order. No. The military order is subordinate to the Constitution. And in this case, it is the Minister of FCT who has oversight, who has control over landed property in the FCT, as the person to whom the president delegates his work. So Wike, yes, I've always said that Wike's issue is not just that he does not know how to talk, but he does not talk with decorum. Many times, like when he had this issue with the Adeyanju, I said it on this program, that this FCT minister must begin to act his age, because the Adeyanju is too low to him to engage him in a verbal exchange, a verbal wrestling. You shouldn't have that with people much younger. Now you look at this officer and you told him that he was a fool. There's no reason to call him a fool, because he was given an instruction, he went there. All you needed to do was just explain that, look, it was wrong for you people to chase away FCDA officials who are doing their lawful duty. Soldiers and policemen have been in the habit of beating up people who are sent to do their work, and it has to stop in our country. It has to stop. The soldier is not superior to the civilian just because he's wearing a uniform. This issue, we have to address it. As we have people who are guilty of abhorrent behavior among civilians, we have them in the army. We have people in the army who are rapists. We have people in the military who are armed robbers. People have been sentenced to death in these same armed forces of Nigeria for killing people and relieving them of their property. So the fact that somebody is wearing a uniform does not make him a saint, or does not make him superior to civilians, does not make him above the law. So let's establish that. Let's put aside the fact that Wike spoke in a manner unbecoming of somebody of his stature. He's always done that. And whatever embarrassment that he got in this case, he brought it on himself. We've told him that this is not how to conduct yourself publicly. I wish that one day he will realize that those of us who advise him to act his age, we are doing it for his own good. We all saw what happened. But the issue then was that lawful duty. Who defines lawful duty? If there's a need to guide that premises, it should be the police guiding the premises, not the army. Not the army. And there are cases too, not the soldiers.
Soldiers.
Yes, not the soldiers. Not the soldiers, just not servicemen. The servicemen is a collective name for all of them. You know, so not servicemen. It should be the police. You lodge a complaint, it should be the police that will go and guide the place. Maybe they don't trust the police enough. Otherwise, these are responsibilities of the police that the military are beginning to take over. And we have to find it. We have to structure these things like a decent nation. Now, what is the status of that piece of land? I can understand in a way why Wike was not going to wait for them to investigate, because I asked myself, what would the Chief of Defense Staff be investigating? The people who have information about that piece of land, the people who have the tools to even investigate are the people in the FCDA.
FCDA, yes.
Yes. If you are to investigate as a soldier, now as a general, what are you going to use? Do you have the document? You have the title documents? Do you have the deed of assignment? What do you have? So all you can investigate, all they can do is, at this point, you can talk to the minister to say, give us some time. Let us speak with this person. How did they acquire this piece of land?
Property.
It is not in the place of the military to say they want to investigate to find out who indeed owns the land. They don't have the tools to investigate. It is they cannot. It is the FCT authorities who can investigate, because documents related to land matters are domiciled in their offices. They are not domiciled in defense headquarters, so they are not in position to even investigate anything. Let's get that clear. Let's put that aside.
Yes.
So, in this case, what needs to be done? Just as the Minister of State for Defense said, the Minister of State for Defense is actually the one who has the power of oversight over the Navy and military institutions like NDA and the rest of them, because their jobs are structured. Badaru has his own responsibilities as Minister of Defense. The Minister of State has his own responsibility. And that particular Navy, the Navy is under the supervision of the Minister of State for Defense, Matawale. And that was why he first slighted that, this thing, that this FCT minister should have been patient with me. He should have reached out to me. Let's see how we can solve this problem. There are situations when this sort of thing happens. What you can do is to say, look, you bought this piece of land from someone, and that person who sold this piece of land to you was aware that they cannot build residential houses in that place. But because he was bent on just making money, he didn't give you the whole information. Now what do? Minister Wike and others can now come together and say, okay, you have spent money on this piece of land. You are not the only one. That is why it's difficult to treat the former service chief, yes, the former chief of Naval staff. It's difficult to treat his matter in isolation because there are other people who have adjoining plots of land in that area. Who also bought their property from the same person. So you cannot treat his own case in isolation. You cannot say, okay, we allow you to stay here, don't worry, and then tell others to go away. No, let's be realistic as human beings. What can then be done is to say, okay, we will give you another piece of land somewhere. That happens a lot. If you are taking your land in overriding public interest, they can compensate you by giving you another piece of land. That is the conversation that should happen. And I appreciate the fact that the minister did not do his press conference that he earlier planned today because he's already in a very angry state. He will have said some things that he ought not to say. So I'm happy about the de-escalation that is going on. Service chiefs need to be respected even after they have served their nation. I appreciate that. It is a difficult situation for the chief of defense staff, for people to expect that the chief of defense staff will simply say, oh yeah, you this guy.
Hello, BKO. Oh dear. I mean, BKO has said a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, and he made some really valid points. Because the Minister of State for Defense, Bello Matawalle, he described the confrontation as unnecessary.
Yeah, quite unnecessary.
I mean, do you agree with him? Absolutely.
You know, and I also feel that I totally agree with, Babajide, that the Minister, of FCT is too aggressive. You know, you shouldn't have called that gentleman a fool. Even your houseboy, you shouldn't call him a fool. You know, so, and that, try to rub on, the good intention that he probably had. And I also think that people should be careful not to feast on this crisis for political reasons. I was surprised about the statement made by the former Chief of Army Staff, General Buratai, that, the action of the minister considered a threat to
national security.
What kind of thing is that? This is somebody who had not spoken for about 2 months, even on serious national security. The Trump and the threat coming from the U.S. has not said anything.
Okay.
The ravage of terrorism, he has not said anything. And then this issue between two people, you just come out openly to make such a very highly inflammable statement. If not that the CDS made a counter statement, I think that could send very wrong signal to people in barracks, given the inflammable nature of Nigeria. So people should be cautious in the kind of statement they make, especially people that are held in high esteem, saying that the minister's action was a threat to what is national, security. That somebody wants to enter the parcel of land held by an individual, and the soldier is, in a particular place that is occupying illegally, and you are now saying it's a threat to national stability. Is that what national stability means? So I think people should be very careful when they want to address this issue. The minister has said that they will investigate the matter, and I think we should wait for the outcome of that investigation. They don't even need to wait for the minister to submit any complaint. They've watched the whole thing, so they should. Even the police should also be interested. It's actually the mandate of the police to find out what actually happened, investigate the matter, and if anybody is found guilty, then you take such a person to court. So we need to realize that we're in a democracy. Whether you are a professor of science, whether you are major general, you are under the Nigerian Constitution.
Absolutely.
The Constitution, there's no part of the country that makes anyone wearing uniform to be a special person. You are not above the law. We are equal before the law. So if you are saying that because somebody is now, like fella said, now tell her the so am now. You are a general in your own right. I'm also a general in my own right, as a journalist or as a medical doctor, as a professor in the university. So we will have respect for ourselves. Not that because you're a journalist, because you're a soldier, then you must, be given a special consideration. So I think that, we need to handle this thing with caution, realizing that the ground norm is the constitution of the country, and all of us must have respect for the constitution of the country.
Absolutely. Yeah. BK, Adewale Adeoye has raised a very, very cogent one, talking about reactions. Reactions like the reaction from the former Chief of Army Staff, General Tukur Buratai. He said the attack on that officer is an attack on national security. BK, what's your thought about this?
I don't think I can.
Okay, we're still having... Okay, I mean, still talking about the Minister of State for Defense, Matawali. He said that earlier the FCT minister had contacted him and he advised the minister to, okay, hold on. Yeah. Okay, BK, can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you.
All right. Did you hear my question? Did you get my question?
That I heard your question. Okay. It's at your end that is present. Now, I'm saying that it does not cause that the Wike called the guy a fool. And the boy said, no, I'm not a fool. That boy behaved like he was trained by my father. My father taught me never to fear people, but to respect them. That boy showed respect to him, but he refused to his ground. Because as far as he was concerned, he had not done anything to warrant being called a fool. And he said, no, I'm not a fool. He told him, shut up. He said, I will not shut up. You know, there's no need for it. Self-respect demands that you do not even get involved in a shouting match with somebody that you are old enough to be his father. That is just the thing. That's just the thing. That's where he dropped the ball. And that's where I'm sure fellow ministers must have been embarrassed by his action. But as we have said before, he was doing his work. It was well within his powers go there. People were saying that he shouldn't have gone there. Why shouldn't he go there? Is it every responsibility that is there?
Good evening. I'm Theo Babajide, returning the debate there. We're in Abuja here. The minister is doing a lot.
We're moving straight into our next conversation. Don't go away. It's still Journalist Hangout. Just joined us. It's still Journalist Hangout. I still have Adewale Adeoye right here with me in the studio, and we also have BKO joining us via Zoom. All right, BKO, to round off this conversation. Investigations is ongoing on the matter. So if the investigation reveals procedural lapses on either side, what should we expect to follow? BKO, did you get my question?
Okay. You can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. Did you hear me? Did you get my question?
I had part of it.
Okay, I said that investigation is ongoing on the matter. If the investigation reveals procedural lapses on either side, what should we expect to follow?
What usually happens is, I believe that the FCT management will not bend the rules for an individual. And as I've said, that land, that piece of land, also has other people. It's not the former Chief of Naval Staff alone that is in that area, or who had lots sold to him in that area. There are other people. So it makes the matter a little precarious. Now, if the FCT management will stick to the purpose for which that piece of land was meant to achieve, then it means that the Chief of Naval Staff, former Chief of Naval Staff, will have to leave that area and allow the land to be used for the purpose it was meant, and they may now find him somewhere else.
Reallocate another place.
Yes. When Wike took a piece of land from Julius Baja because they refused to develop it decades after, or many years after, I don't know the exact number of years, and then used it to build accommodation for judges. People said all kinds of things. It's because he wants judges to be supporting him and all that. But the executive has always built courts and even accommodation for judges. So what is wrong in judges having their own quarters? So sometimes this decision, he has the power to take such decisions. And in this case, I expect that he will do what's best for the FCT, what's best for Nigeria. So
okay.
They have to come together and resolve the issue amicably. This is not an issue about grandstanding.
Okay.
After all the posts that Nigerians are making on social media, you know, equating acting as sentry as courage and putting it at par with confronting Boko Haram and ISWAP in the islands of Lake Chad, we will still come back to reality.
Exactly.
And the reality is they have to come together and resolve this matter. If the former CNS will be relocated elsewhere, so be it. We've seen that happen many times.
Okay.
You know, even when government takes your piece of land and they build roads across it, they relocate you elsewhere. We see that happening. So that is what I expect to see happening in on this matter. There is no investigation that the military can do. They don't have the tools to conduct an investigation.
Exactly.
They don't have the documents to look at. Those documents are in the FCDA,
yes.
not in
the defense
Army headquarters, not in defense headquarters. There's no investigation.
Exactly. All right, Adewale Adeyi, how do you react on this matter?
Well, my final take is that people occupying important positions, ministers, House of Assembly members, senators, they should not see ordinary people as irritants. They should show some respect, whether that person is in uniform or not. Because words can lead to wars. If that situation in that place was not well managed, it could have led to a shootout, and anything could have happened. So we need to be very careful, the way we use words. We should show some level of respect. And in this instance, I'm addressing the Minister for Federal Capital Territory. And I also think that Nigeria needs to address the issue where private individuals convert security people that are supposed to be protecting the country to agents that are protecting private interests. You buy goods somewhere and you discover that they are so popular, then the next thing that you go and hire a soldier. Your landlord sends you away from home. The next thing is you go and hire a soldier or a policeman. Our soldiers do not allow themselves to be turned to private mercenaries, serving individual interests instead of, protecting the sovereignty of the country. The issue where an individual will be protecting private property, is a middle rank, police, soldier, officer. I think it is wrong. And you have these instances everywhere. Some are protecting minors. Some are escorting, diesel from one state to the other. Some are, somewhere protecting private properties. Some are there, you want to build your house, you go and hire soldiers. So if we, turn our soldiers to agents of, agents that are just looking for money through any means, there is no way such a military will be disciplined enough to fight when the need arises, when you face external aggression.
All right, gentlemen, let's move straight to our next conversation.